on state and local governments. So, what do they do? And what are some of the different positions that you need to know when it comes to state and local governments? That's what we're going to be covering today. So, where do the state powers come from? Well, they come from the 10th Amendment, which is listed right here. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution or prohibited to it prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Again, that's the 10th Amendment, and that's where we get the idea for reserve powers. Right here it says they are reserved for the states. Okay? That's where we get the idea for those reserve powers, is from the 10th Amendment. So what do they do, state and local governments? They do a number of different things. There is a ton of stuff that they do. Here are some examples, okay? And this is not an exhaustive list by any means, okay? State and local governments help to pay and plan for a lot of roads. And most roads that you drive on are going to be paid for either by state government or by your local government. That could be at the county level, that could be at the city level, okay, or township level, depending on whether you live in a city or a township. Okay? It also helps to run public schools, so a lot of funding is going to be coming from the state level. The school board is a local government that helps to manage the entire school. Okay? Additionally, if you live in a city or somewhere that has city water, they provide water and sewage services. Whether it's the local, township, county, state level, they provide police services. Local governments also provide fire services. Zoning regulations are going to be done at the local level, so that's like your agricultural areas, your commercial areas, your residential areas, and such. Professional licensing is going to be done at the state level, so the state of Michigan allows me to teach. I have a certification in my room that says, yep, I am able to teach math and social studies. I have to get that renewed every so often, every couple of years. That is done at the state level. It allows me to teach in the state of Michigan. I can't go to another state and use that license to teach. It also allows state governments are the ones who are arranging elections. Are the ones who are running elections for both the state level elections, local level elections, and for federal elections. States are the ones that are in charge of that. Each state has its own constitution. Now, unlike the U.S. Constitution, we're not going to take a look at the Michigan Constitution because it's pretty long. It's about 56 pages long. Okay? But what the Constitution is supposed to do, and I say supposed to because it's got some other stuff in there too, and we'll get to that in a sec. But what a state constitution is supposed to do is very similar to the U.S. Constitution. It's supposed to protect civil rights. It's supposed to establish structure of government, the processes in governments, who has what power, all that kind of stuff, and then how that constitution can be amended. Okay? That's what we call fundamental law. That's the stuff that's supposed to be in a constitution. Okay? A lot of states struggle with this. Okay? A lot of states have really, really long constitutions, and some of them have gone through several. Michigan has gone through several. Our current constitution was established in 1963. Okay? But the length of these constitutions comes down to the struggle between fundamental law and what's called statutory law. Okay? These are supposed to be laws that are created via the state legislature. So what happens a lot of times is a lot of these statutory laws, these things that really should be done by the state legislature, aren't done by the state legislature, instead get added to the Constitution and become a part of that fundamental law. So you just get a long list of things that really should just be regular laws, really don't rise to the level of, hey, this should be a part of a constitution, but they get included there anyway because maybe the legislature doesn't want to deal with a particular issue, or the voters are very, very passionate about something, and it gets included into the Constitution. And what this does is the Constitution kind of gets a little bit convoluted. It gets very, very large. It gets very overwhelmed, and in some places it even contradicts itself. Okay? So that's a little bit of a struggle. And again, a lot of states struggle with this. Michigan's Constitution can be amended by popular vote of the voters after a proposal has received enough signatures to be placed on a ballot, or when 2/3 of the Michigan legislature approves it, and then it goes to a popular vote. Okay, this is one of the elements of direct democracy that we have in our system. Okay? 2018 was a year that we had some really good examples of this that are pretty significant. You had Proposal 2, which dealt with the issue of gerrymandering. Prior to that, the state legislature drew the congressional district lines. After Proposal 2 was passed, now that's left up to an independent commission. Proposal 3 dealt with voter registration, another major issue and allowed you to register to vote up until the day of the election, right, including the day of the election. So that kind of made it easier for people to get registered to vote and be able to exercise their constitutional rights if they're a U.S. citizen. But in addition to that, the Constitution allows voters to pass a law without going through the legislature. This is what happened with Proposal 1 in 2018, which was the legalization of marijuana for any individuals over 21 years of age, 21 years in age and older. Once they've got enough petitions and signatures via petitions, they're able to place that on a ballot and go from that. So that's kind of dealing with state constitution. Let's talk some of the different people. Governor, Michigan's governor, current governor is Gretchen Whitmer. She is able to serve 2 4-year terms. She's currently in her first term, will be up for re-election in 2022. But what does the governor do? There's a ton of different responsibilities. She's responsible for administering the executive branch at the state level, responsible for creating the state's budget, though this is going to have to go through the legislature for approval. She's in commander-in-chief, believe it or not of the U.S. Army, right, but of the state militia. We would call this the State National Guard. All right, though that group can be federalized by the president. In addition to that, she can recommend legislation. She can call for special sessions of the state legislature, and she has veto power. Even in Michigan, you have some line item vetoes where she can veto specific parts of it rather than the whole thing all entirely, which you can't do at the national level. But the governor does a lot of different things. Some other executive branch positions that you need to know that you're going to be voting on when you go to vote. Lieutenant governor, usually this is kind of like, essentially lieutenant governor is kind of like our vice president, right? They don't do a ton and have very similar responsibilities to the governor as the vice president does to the president. They are the successor for the governor, so for some reason Gretchen Whitmer was not able to continue as being governor. Maybe she dies or it steps down from the position or takes a different position at the federal level, then the lieutenant governor would then come in. The current lieutenant governor of Michigan is Garland Gilchrist, who's also a Democrat. Secretary of State, this is a pretty important position because the Secretary of State does a ton of different things. Don't get confused with the Secretary of State at the national level. Very, very different position. Secretary of State at the national level is helping out with the U.S. foreign policy. Secretary of State at the state level is Michigan's chief clerk and record keeper. You go there when you need to get your driver's license renewed or get your tabs on your vehicle taken care of. She's responsible for overseeing election laws, and that they take care of all the different documents that are produced by the state. The current Secretary of State is Jocelyn Benson, who's a Democrat. And then lastly, you've got Attorney General. This is more similar to Attorney General at the national level in that they are Michigan's chief lawyer, and they're going to be the legal counsel for the state. They're going to provide legal services for state officers and well as oversee all the state and local prosecutors in criminal cases. The state's current Attorney General is Dana Nessel. Local governments, depending on where you're at, it's going to be different. Everybody has a county level, but depending on that, you might live in a city, you might live in a village, you may live in a township. All of these look slightly different. So I'm going to try and do my best to kind of delve into like the different positions that each one of these are, but really they're creations by the state to try and address the local needs of people. And a lot of times these are going to have the most day-to-day impact on you. National government decisions made, yes, they have an impact on you, but you don't see it all the time, right? State makes a decision, you're going to see it more than you will the national level, but not day to day. Local government decisions, you see them all the time. So some of the different positions. County commissioner, this is kind of the county level, both legislative and executive duties. They are part of a team. They are going to be in charge of enacting local ordinances and administering them, making sure that they're taken out. They approve budgets. They oversee spending. They hire the county employees. And most counties have a commission that's usually of 3 to 5 individuals, and you're going to vote for 1 or 2 of those every time there's an election. Cities and some villages will have a mayor. Okay. The mayor's responsibilities really vary from place to place. It could be for a small city like Coopersville, that could be presiding over council meetings. Yeah, and you act as the ceremonial head of government for that purposes, but there's nothing else you do. Whereas if you start to get into like mayor of Grand Rapids or mayor of Detroit or Chicago or New York, one of these really large cities, uh, now you're getting a lot more responsibility. Now you're doing a lot more, and the power is going to be a lot more. The things that you can do. Okay? We have school board members as well at the local level. Again, they're helping run the school, ensuring that school districts are responsible for the values, beliefs, and priorities of the community. Okay? They're the ones who are kind of overseeing the direction in partnership with the superintendent. They're kind of the superintendent's boss, really, when it comes to that. You also have townships. Okay? If you don't live in a city or a village, you probably live in a township. This is a lot for especially more rural areas. You have a township supervisor who's responsible for deciding issues when it comes to public safety, spending, growth, management, zoning, roads, code enforcement, the environment, trying to pay for all of those different things, which can be a challenge in some places because some townships have a lot more money than others do. And if you're from a township that doesn't have a lot of resources, it becomes very difficult to make sure that you have enough or how to prioritize all these different issues. Where if you're coming from a township that does have a lot more money, it's not as big of a problem. You're able to do extra things to help the people in there. You also have township trustees who are responsible for attending the board meetings that occur. There's usually monthly board meetings at the township level. They make sure that the state laws are being followed on open meetings, and they keep public records of everything. They know the township's tax structure very much. They oversee its hiring and firing policies, the zoning rules, all that kind of stuff. And they're making sure that everything is being done legally at those particular meetings. Okay? So those are just some of the positions. Mostly going through these because you're going to see these on the ballot. And I think it's important to know what these positions do so that we can get qualified individuals to be in there. Because be honest, like most people look at it and say, oh, township supervisor, I have no idea what that person is, but that sounds fun. I know them, so I'll vote for them. But they might not be that qualified. We want to make sure we have qualified people who are working in government so that they can do a high quality job. All right. Some more fun when we get to state and local governments here in class. I've got a nice little fun activity planned for you guys that we'll see, but we'll get to that in class. So I'll see you there.